Hey everyone, so I've recently been playing Cyberpunk 2077 and I thought after seeing the initial reviews and reactions to the whole launch and review window situation, I thought I'd make a little video and offer up my own thoughts. This video isn't a review but more impressions of my own personal experience so far because damn, this game feels like it was made for me. It's incredible. While I won't go into too much detail on the story side of things, I'll do my best to try and avoid major plot events and details within the footage itself. Mostly going to be using just gameplay B-roll footage, but I am just going to put a spoiler warning right here if you don't want anything spoiled for you. Now, full disclosure, I am playing this game on a PC running an i7-9700 CPU, 16GB of RAM with a GTX 1660 Ti graphics card. So my system is by no means top of the line, but it is more in that kind of mid-range and it can run all my games on ultra settings no problem. And Cyberpunk is no different in that regard. I am playing the game, however, in 1080p, so I can't really comment on the performance in any higher resolution, and I'm also a PC noob, so I really don't know enough about the hardware to tell you if it will run smoothly. This game mostly runs at 60 FPS in the indoor spaces and dropping to the low 50s in outdoor environments, and like I said, the occasional dip into the 40s. A lot of people are reporting crashes on Steam, and I just want to say I've had zero crashes, zero game-breaking bugs, and haven't had to restart the game once during my 25 hours of play. I will get into the bugs a bit later, but I just wanted to get all this out there straight away because I have seen a lot of talk online that you need a high-end PC for this game to run, and while this is true for features like ray tracing, this game looks incredible without it, and honestly, I would argue it's not really necessary. Obviously, depending on what hardware you have, your experience may differ, but I just wanted to provide a bit of a benchmark for my personal experience of the game. But man, am I having such a good fucking time with this game. At the time of writing, I have 25 hours of game time, and I have just spent so much of that time exploring Night City, seeing the sights, playing through side quests, slowly making my way through the main campaign, and spending an absolutely absurd amount of time in photo mode. The main campaign has been reported to take around 25 to 35 hours to complete, and this does line up with CD Projekt Red saying that this will be a shorter campaign prior to the game's release. This will still be disappointing to some who may have been expecting something along the lines of a Witcher 3's, 60 plus hours campaign. But with that said, there is a right and a wrong way to play this game, and the right way to play this game is to take your time and play through the side quests. The side quests in this game are some top tier level writing. The big bulk of this game's content is the side quest storylines, and while there are some of your standard open world side missions such as taking down rogue AI cars for example, a lot of the side quests are so fleshed out and detailed. It's some of the strongest writing, and I'm not going to talk about them to avoid spoilers, but let's just say the game's best content is in these side quests and side activities. There are also gigs, which is this game's equivalent to your Witcher contracts. You get these gigs from fixer characters throughout each region of Night City. Some of these gigs are so well realized and fleshed out and aren't just your straight up bounty hunter mission. You have a lot of freedom as the player to approach these missions how you like. One of the earlier ones you encounter, for example, involves a straight cop who is in the middle of an investigation and all her corrupt colleagues want her removed as her investigation is going to affect their extra revenue streams, shall we say. When you track her down, you have the option to either kill her or you can talk her down from her investigation if you say the right things, and then she will just leave town. It's the kind of player freedom that made the Witcher contracts in Witcher 3 worth your time and are the benchmark for any good RPG game, and it's just as equally worth your time here. As far as the main questline is concerned, so far it's been pretty good. I wouldn't say my experience has matched the quality of the side quests I have played. Sometimes the campaign feels a little surface level with the exploration of its themes, but the campaign is good at setting up character relationships and hitting those dramatic cinematic beats, which I won't spoil, and I am definitely invested in the story itself. However, I would say the campaign in The Witcher 3 is a lot stronger. I was definitely more invested in the storyline of that game and its characters. But CDPR's writing team still does an excellent job with the side characters in this game. One thing I do want to quickly add is the prologue itself is about 6 hours long, but man, they nailed this 6 hours. It's really strong from a storytelling perspective, and the emotional beats hit really well, and it does a really good job at setting up the game's mechanics. But once that opening title card appears, that's where the game actually starts, and I can definitely say you haven't played this game at all if you have only played the prologue. Once Keanu appears, this game is a whole different beast, and I am having such a good time with this campaign so far. The big thing for this game is the life paths you can choose for V. Depending on which life path you choose depends on how the prologue starts. I chose Nomad for my V, and I will say, as much as CDPR hyped this up, I was a little disappointed by this. With Nomad, you start outside the city in the Badlands and you are hired to smuggle something into the city. The problem is you hardly spend any time in the Badlands, and the game is very quick to throw you into the city. I don't feel like I have earned my right of passage into the city, and I really wish the game spent longer exploring this life path option and Nomad V's backstory. Maybe you could have a few quests to set up V accepting the job or something like that, because I literally spent fuck all time in the Badlands. Now, I haven't played the other options, Street Kid or Corpo yet, but from what I've heard, it's only the initial hour that's different. Apart from that, everything else in the prologue is the same. Obviously, your life path does affect some of the choices you can make throughout the game and the relationships with characters and dialogue options and things, but who knows, maybe I will get to explore some of the stuff that the prologue didn't explore later in the game, because right now I just feel like it's pointless having these life path options. Now let's talk about Night City, a playground in which you inhabit and live throughout your adventure. Night City is such an incredible space to be in. The scale of this environment is truly something I have never experienced in a video game before. And I don't mean the size of the map, I mean vertically. This city is filled with skyscrapers and other various structures that when you look up, you really get a sense of just how small you are in this world. The different areas of the city have completely different vibes, from the rundown areas inhabited by the homeless and the poor people to the gang-infested areas or the metropolises of the central city areas. I have spent so much time just exploring the city, walking around and taking it all in. It's one of my favorite things to do in this game. That said, outside the quest, there isn't a hell of a lot to actually do in the world when compared to other open world environments like GTA, Red Dead, or even the predecessor, Witcher 3, but nevertheless, inhabiting Night City is a truly impressive experience. Plus, I love the whole neon futuristic aesthetic that Cyberpunk environments have anyway, and this game, there is neon everywhere, and I fucking love it. When it comes to the gameplay, I have to say it's pretty solid. Each of the guns feel different and have different perks and can be combined with scopes and mods for additional perks. All of the weapons pack a different punch, and the game is actually very similar to Destiny in that regard. The main loadout I have at the moment is an assault rifle, this awesome pink handgun that I can't remember the name of, and also a katana. I really do love the katana in this game. It uses the same mechanics as the melee system, but it is so much more satisfying. I will say I'm not a big fan of the melee system in this game. I think when you are just using your fists, it just feels a bit clunky. As for the gameplay loop, there are plenty of options in combat. You can take a stealthy approach, you can go in guns blazing. I've experimented a little bit with, hacking and stealth, and it does provide an interesting way to tackle encounters. However, at least at this stage, it really is just more convenient just to go into a shootout. I don't really want to go in depth on the progression, cyberware, and crafting systems in the game, as I haven't really explored these enough in depth yet to really have an opinion on them. I will say though, I do feel like crafting in this game is kind of pointless. You get so much loot in the game world that I feel like I am never going to use it beyond maybe crafting health items if I'm running low. But I can't wrap up my thoughts on this game without addressing the bugs. Now, like I said earlier, I have played this on PC. and I've been lucky enough to not have my experience tarnished. However, I am still encountering some of the same bugs that have obviously been widely reported. The UI for weapons sometimes displays different stats on an item before you loot it, compared to when you look at it in the inventory. The most bugs I encounter though are graphical pop-ins. Occasionally an NPC might just pop in out of nowhere, but for me it's mostly the lighting and texture pop-ins when driving around the city, which is when it's really noticeable. And I know the game will be fixed in time, but we honestly need to not accept this kind of shitty business practice. With all of that said though, like I said, I love this game, and the substance of this game alone makes it one of the greatest games to release this year, and one of my favorite games I have ever played. I love the cyberpunk genre, and while I don't think this is as good as The Witcher 3, this game is incredible, and it's met my expectations, and it's definitely an experience you should have. And I am excited to see where the rest of the game goes from here. However, it's not something I can recommend to people. Not in its current state. I would say wait for a next gen release, or wait until it at least fucking works. But honestly, at the end of the day, all I can say is it's a damn shame. Thanks so much for watching. It felt good to be making one of these smaller type opinion videos again. I think the last one I made was back in 2018. You know, and as much as I like the bigger video projects or the silly gameplay videos, it's nice just to get my thoughts out there in short form on something, so I think I might do more of this kind of stuff again in the future. But anyway, if you did enjoy the video, press the like button, subscribe, all that stuff. I mean, who am I kidding? You know how this YouTube shit works. This is going to be probably my last video for the year, but I've had a ton of fun this year experimenting with, you know, different content, and I enjoyed doing the gaming videos and the podcast, and definitely excited to continue those into the new year. But I feel like I do want to do more of this kind of video, and I think it's time for another one of those big project videos, I think. But anyway, it's been fun this year, and I'll see you next year, boys.